There are many different technologies that can transform a business, but actually identifying areas that benefit and then realizing that benefit is not always an easy process. Collins Technology Consulting helps its clients do just that in a successful fashion. Collins Technology Consulting, they're a UK-based Agiloft reseller and developer who work with companies across UK and Europe. After a long career in IT and as a software engineer, Ben Collins, founder of Collins Technology, decided to branch out on his own by supplying personalized project management and technology consulting services. Today, we'd like to welcome Ben. Good morning to you, Ben, and let me kick off, if I may. Just introduce us to Collins Technology by explaining, if you would, a little bit more about what your company does and the sectors in which you operate.
Okay, yeah, my name is Ben Collins. I run Collins Technology Consulting. We're a software sort of consultancy. Initially, I started off doing just program management and project management, but I was managing a project for somebody to implement a contract management system a number of years ago. And the project went okay. And the software company that had been chosen for to be the supplier for that contract management system, they sort of approached me a few months later and just said they were interested in selling their systems in Europe, and would I be interested in trying to help them achieve that. So this whole focus of the company changed then, and we concentrate just on selling contract management systems these days. Our customer base is very broad, but it falls, it's naturally sort of sorted itself out into two main verticals, probably where the larger percentage of our customers are. And that's financial institutions, sort of banking, and pharmaceutical. I don't think that's such a much of a coincidence, because putting in the system that we put in has got very good controls for auditing and regulatory. So if you're in one of those sort of regulated industries, where those sort of controls and audit controls, access and everything is really important, that's the sort of the strength. And that's where we've got a great deal of knowledge and experience now, is implementing systems into those sort of tightly regulated markets.
Well, Ben, from your website, I could actually see you clearly love what you do, but you almost go to sort of any lengths to help your clients in any way you can. But could you perhaps just explain the steps you would usually undertake that allows you to help them and give them the best solutions that they need?
Yeah, well, I think starting any project with a client, they often don't really know what they want to do. They have an idea that they've got a problem, they know it could be improved. Sometimes they'll come and explain to you in terms of how they do things today, but they realize they've got problems there. So they quite often approach us and say, well, from your experience of the projects you've done and the type of customers that you've dealt with previously, if you've got anything you can bring to us to help us improve, if you've got recommendations, we're open to that as well. So we don't go into sites and just saying, well, we've got this product and it works in this way and you must use it in this way. And they don't tend to come to us saying, well, we've got this very fixed idea of what we want to do. It's much more collaborative, where we discuss options, or we see how it would fit in with the current tool. We identify areas where they would like it to be changed to suit them. And we also, they're also very open to what can you recommend? What do other people do when they're trying to manage this sort of process? We know it's not good, but we don't really know. And so it's that consultative, and the tool we use is very flexible. We can change workflows, we can create new fields. It's very, very adaptable, and that really suits putting it into very different environments. So a lot of our clients are primarily they're executing contracts. It's a team of people that are just making sure that they actually the obligations, tasks, that they're managing renewals. And some of our other clients are more on the legal side, where they're more interested in the creation of the contract, the approval workflows, perhaps the due diligence they've got to go through and to get things actually signed off. So, and some are clients will be a sort of a mixture of the two. So, but it's this sort of collaborative approach where we don't dictate, and we try and encourage people to don't try and second guess what they think our tool can do. Just explain to us in your words what you're trying to achieve, and then leave it to us to go and figure out how that is achievable within the system that we're selling. So and it works very well working that way. We try to always keep our projects very flexible. The temptation is to go down the route of people trying to write really detailed requirements, and then trying to hold you, did you do this? But in reality, you start a project and you start in one direction, and people decide they want to do something different, and we sort of will adapt and roll with it.
It's interesting because you've I understand you've had a long career in IT and software engineering before you decided to branch out on your own, and it sounds like you are absolutely embracing that and loving that. But would you be able to sort of explain why you made this decision then, and if you like, how it became a success for you, which it clearly is?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed being working for somebody. You're in that comfort zone of you sort of know where your paycheck's coming from and things. But like many other people, I was unfortunate enough to be made redundant in about 2009. I used to work for a US startup company. We were based in central London, and they had some investor money in, and one of the conditions was concentrate on the US market, close the UK office. So found myself with nothing to do really. That company at the time we were developing broadcasting systems for doing the interactive red button services, the things used to see on Sky quite commonly. And one of our larger clients in the UK, they still wanted to carry on using the technology, and luckily they offered me a contract. So I just founded Collins Technology Consulting as just as a vehicle really to be able to go and continue working for them as a freelancer. But once you've sort of taken that first step, obviously that contract came to an end, and then I found other work, and it carried on going. And I worked for some very large UK corporations, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But when an opportunity came up to really focus on something specific, I must admit I was quite reluctant initially. It's a bit of a gamble. You're thinking
it's a leap into the unknown, isn't it?
It is a total leap into the unknown, and I just thought, well, these opportunities don't come along very. If I don't do it and it fails, or if I do it and it fails, it doesn't matter. I'll just go back, try do like programming.
That's a really interesting point, because in a way, this opportunity, which I suspect I don't know, maybe there's a little part of you wishing you'd done it before, but actually that opportunity was in part forced on you, and you seized the opportunity and went for it. But what if someone now was starting up their own business in this field? What advice would someone like you give them? Well, someone like you, what advice would you give someone to enable them to do this, and how to be successful at it?
I think, like a lot of things in life, you've got to know these things exist to start. I mean, the idea of, I'd thought of resellers, just by going to somewhere like PC World, buying something off the shelf. They're reselling software for Microsoft. The sort of the world I'm in now, I didn't even really know it existed in the form that it exists in. So it's the same as if you go to careers advice at the school. They'll only show you a very limited number of careers, and there's a whole raft of things out there that you never hear about. So yeah, I was very fortunate. I always said if I make too much money, my autobiography would be the Reluctant Millionaire, because it's not something I ever planned doing. It just sort of came along, and I grabbed it and kept going. But yeah, I think do a bit of research and see what sort of things are out there, and just talk to people. If people seem to be doing something that you think that looks interesting, I wonder how they did that. I mean, I did actually. I had an interview with somebody many years ago for a totally unrelated job, And he's a bit of a serial entrepreneur, and he's very very sensible, and we got on very well when we did the interview, when I had interviewed with him. I mean, in the early days, I just thought, I'm just going to call him up. I haven't spoken to him for years. He might not even remember who I am. And he took me out took me out for lunch, and I just chewed it over with him, saying, I've got this opportunity. This is what it is. What do you think? And I respected his opinion, and he gave me the sort of that little nudge of confidence to think, yes, why shouldn't I be able to go and do that?
And I'm sure someone will do that to you at some point. But during this journey, I'm sure it had its ups and downs. You had your high moments, and you probably had some low moments in that. Embracing difficulties and occasional failures. I mean, did you find yourself able to do that as well as enjoy the successes? And is that something people should be prepared for?
Yeah. Luckily, things went pretty well most of the time. But yes, I mean, you're relying on selling systems. The sell sort of promotes additional services that you can then make money out of. And yeah, going through COVID and everything, it was all very strange. I mean, the way it worked out for us initially at the beginning of COVID, huge boom. Lots of companies were suddenly realizing, we don't know what state our contracts are in. What can we get out of? What can we, and they suddenly wanted to get very organized. So while there was chaos going on in the world, people were desperately wanting to get their contracts sorted out, get everything organized and manage it. So we were doing very well. But then after the second year just died. It's just that initial flow. Then people were getting into the more cautious stage of, well, what's happening now with COVID? It's been going on for a year, and sales went really, really dried up. We weren't really doing much business there at all. I mean, fortunately for us, once we've established a relationship with a client, we have an ongoing relationship. So even though we've done their initial implementation, we've set their system up, they'll come back to us and ask us to make sort of changes. And this is just sort of a key thing. The most successful clients are people who don't just put a system in, leave it, and then just let it slowly sort of die. They're proactively constantly reviewing it, constantly seeing if there's something they can do to improve it. And luckily we had enough of that to just sort of keep us ticking over. But it really was quite worrying when you can't really predict when that's going to end.
You very neatly brought us back to the business. Let's talk a little bit about that, because Collins Technology UK, it's an Agiloft reseller, so and developer. So can you explain to me and define, if you like, what the term Agisoft reseller mean?
Yeah, as a reseller, Agiloft they provide cloud-based solutions. It's all based and it's hosted in various sort of data centers around the world, and they do the core development. So they have they do all of the product management of develop what features they need and things, and they provide a sort of a starting point for contract management system, which may or may not be useful for some people. Might be able to use it out of the box, and then there for them to sort of get established in other territories and expand their business. They have their own sales team for doing like very large corporate enterprise, but you can't. It's very difficult to expand without asking other people to help you. So the idea of the resellers like myself is they give us materials we can use, and we can sign up for creating trial accounts and things, and they provide us some leads if people have approached them wanting a system, and we go out and we sort of basically will knock on the door, we'll arrange the meetings, we'll do all of the pre-sales, the demonstrations, system, everything, to the point where they've negotiated how many number of licenses and things the customer wants to buy, and then they'll purchase the software, for which obviously we will actually earn a little bit of commission on that. But we're sort of a value added reseller. So the value that we add is we will then provide the consultancy services for configuring it, setting it up for the specific business to their specific requirements. And obviously that's where we make probably the bulk of our money, is on the upselling of the consultancy services for all of our clients. So that we work very, very carefully with Agiloft, very closely with Agiloft. They provide sort of systems for registering deals and leads and opportunities, things like this. And obviously they provide us a lot of support as well. So customers can be confident that if there's any fundamental problems with the actual software solution, that we are, have a good relationship with Agiloft. We can record problems, escalate things internally at Agiloft, and get issues resolved very quickly for them.
So you talked about your customers. I suppose very direct question, really, Ben. What kind of clients are Collins Technology Consulting looking for?
Well, in the early days, absolutely anybody. But as you mature, you get a better idea of the sort of clients that, the projects that have gone particularly well, where the software itself has particular strengths. And like I said, we're regulated industries where they need to provide accurate details of who's accessed things, who's changed something, controls did a process run correctly to satisfy some regulatory sort of thing. So things like in the finance and pharmaceutical, we really do. I think we have a very strong offering for those sort of industries. But we're talking to another company at the moment, and they're a very large leasing organization, and they have very complicated contractual relationships, and that will be great for us, because for us that will actually be a very interesting project to do. I mean, we do love doing these things. We are motivated by the outcome as much as anything else. I mean, and that's just going to be that'll just be a very interesting project to work on. So we're always looking for something. If somebody comes to us and just says, we've been out in the market and we can't really find anything that does this or this, and is it all too complicated? It's like that's right up our street, so to speak, because that's just, a challenge like that is great. We just love the challenge of doing something.
Yeah, I get that very much, and that must be the huge benefit of having been, if you like, and in IT and software developing, is the thrill you get from the actual job. Let me, if I may, draw this to a close and say, because clearly you've got a lot of energy and you're powering on. In terms of your business and your clients, where do you see the company in the next 5 years, maybe 5 to 10 years even?
Well, we hopefully will carry on growing a little bit more. Harking back to earlier in the interview about starting up, obviously a major milestone for when I started up was when I reached out and tried to find somebody else to actually work with me. Going from a one-man band as running project managing with your contract as a contractor to actually having other people working with you. Yeah, that's a major milestone. It's definitely an area we definitely need to bring on some more people, and we're just carry on expanding, doing what we're doing. Trying to still be the best at doing what we do in the field that we're doing it in. We run basically as a virtual company. We don't have any offices. We've been a virtual company right from the start. So everybody who works for me works from home. That's our standard working practice. We don't really have any great ambition to get offices and build things like that. We want to prove that this method of working is expandable and viable. We'd like to just concentrate, I guess, on anybody in the European clients. I think out of our clients at the moment, we're about 50-50. We have about 50% in the UK, and the remaining 50% are in Europe. We think there's a lot more opportunities probably out in the European part of our business. Specifically, we're looking at like Germany and Austria at the moment. So I think that as a market, contract management there's a huge potential market out there, and I can see us continuing to be very busy for very many years.
Ben, it's a fascinating story. I wish you very well for the future, at least the next 10 years, should we say. Ben Collins from Collins Technology Consulting, thanks very much for joining us here today.
Thank you for letting me have a talk to everybody today. Hope some other people will find it interesting and useful.